What's the $15 product a 79-year-old hunter swore would change my entire approach to scent control? Gum spirits of turpentine, not hardware store turpentine, not paint thinner. Pure gum spirits, distilled from living pine tree resin, the same way it's been done since the 1700s. The old man handed me a small glass bottle in the parking lot of a farm supply store in Covington County, Alabama. That's the heart of the longleaf pine belt, where the sandy soil grows /pine, thick enough to block the sun, and told me to put my finger over the opening, tip it once, and dab it on my hat brim and my bootlaces. I thought he was out of his mind. He said he'd been using it since 1971, over 50 years. Said his father used it before him and his grandfather before that, going back to when turpentine was one of the biggest industries in the American South. Longleaf pine forests from Virginia to East Texas produced millions of barrels of the stuff in the 1800s, and hunters in those regions figured out that it was the best cover scent nature ever made because it was nature. I didn't believe him, not even a little. I went home, looked it up, found a quiet but devoted following on hunting forums going back years, mostly southern hunters, mostly old-timers, and decided to give it one honest try. That was 4 seasons ago. I haven't hunted without it since, and I can count on one hand the number of people I've told about it until now. What I'm going to walk through is what gum spirits of turpentine actually is, why it works on a biological level that goes deeper than just covering your smell, how to use it without overdoing it, and the one type of terrain where it will flat out work against you. And near the end, I'll share a way to combine it with something you already own that turns a good cover scent into something closer to an invisibility cloak. The first layer is the one most people start and stop at. They hear turpentine and think paint thinner. That's the wrong product entirely, and this distinction matters more than anything else I'm going to say. A hardware store turpentine is a petroleum distillate. It's synthetic, it's harsh, and it smells like a chemical plant. A deer would blow out of the county if you walked in smelling like that. Pure gum spirits of turpentine is the opposite. It's steam distilled from the raw resin, the actual sap of living pine trees. Companies like Diamond Forest Products down in Patterson, Georgia, still harvest it by hand from /pine, using methods that haven't changed in 200 years. The result is essentially a concentrated pine essential oil. Open the bottle, and it smells exactly like a freshly cut pine tree. Not pine-scented air freshener, actual pine. The kind of smell that's been in the woods since before humans existed. That smell is the key to everything, and why this isn't just another cover scent. You've had this happen. You spent 20 minutes before the hunt spraying down every square inch of your jacket, your pants, your boots, your hat. You walked in slow, stayed downwind, did everything the bottle told you to do. And a doe at 50 yards still picked you out of the tree line like you were wearing a neon sign. You drove home wondering what the point of all that spray was if the deer can smell you anyway. The answer isn't that the spray didn't work. It's that it was trying to do the wrong thing. Most cover scents try to hide your human odor by layering something else on top of it. Pine sprays, earth wafers, acorn cover scent. They're trying to drown out what you smell like with what the forest smells like. The problem is that a whitetail's nose, with its 297 million olfactory receptors compared to your 5 million, can sort through layered scents the way you sort through voices in a crowded room. A commercial pine spray sitting on top of human scent doesn't fool the nose. The deer smells both. It smells pine and human, and the human part triggers the alarm. What gum spirits does is different, and I'll admit up front that I don't have a lab study to prove this next part. This is based on what I've observed on my cameras and a theory a buddy shared that makes the most sense of anything I've heard. A dog handler, a guy who trains drug detection dogs for law enforcement, suggested that concentrated natural terpenes, the volatile compounds in pine resin, may partially overwhelm or saturate the olfactory receptors in a way that temporarily disrupts the deer's ability to process competing scent signals. Nose Jammer, the commercial product, claims to work on a similar principle, and they charge $12 to $18 a can for it. The active ingredients: vanillin and natural aromatic compounds. Gum spirits of turpentine is pure alpha-pinene and beta-pinene, the same terpenes that Nose Jammer and Conquest Evercalm are built around, except you're getting it straight from the source for about $15 a bottle. a bottle that lasts 2 full seasons. If you watch the kitchen hack video, this should sound familiar. The commercial hunting industry identifies a natural compound that works, synthesizes it or dilutes it, puts it in a camo-printed bottle, and sells it back to you at a markup that would make a pharmacist blush. Gum Spirits is the original product they're all copying. Run the numbers on what most hunters spend. 2 cans of nose jammer per season at $14 each. That's $28. A bottle of Evercalm at $16. A can or 2 of generic pine cover spray at $8 each. You're at $60 a year easy, and most of it is gone by the end of October. Over 10 years, that's $600. A single bottle of pure Gum Spirits costs $15 to $5 and lasts 2 full seasons, with the application method I'll show you in a minute. That's roughly $15 over the same 10 years. The deer don't know the difference. Your wallet does. But there's a deeper layer that the commercial products miss entirely. And this is the part that changed how I think about scent control. When you apply pure Gum Spirits to your clothing and gear, you're not just masking your scent or jamming the deer's nose. You're authenticating your location. You're telling the deer's olfactory system that the tree you're sitting in, the stand you're hunting from, the air around your position, smells like undisturbed pine forest, which, if you're hunting anywhere near conifers, it should. The turpentine doesn't hide you. It makes your spot smell like it belongs. That's a fundamentally different approach than cover scent, and it's why I've seen deer walk into the scent cone, hesitate, and then continue feeding instead of blowing. On my cameras in Neshoba County, Mississippi, that's the red clay piney woods east of Philadelphia, where the Choctaw land meets the National Forest. I ran a side-by-side with a buddy last October. Same property, stands about 300 yards apart. Same morning, same wind. I had Gum Spirits on my hat brim and bootlaces. He ran his usual dead-down wind spray routine. On the cameras I ran, deer passed within 30 yards of my stand on 4 of 6 sets without showing any alert behavior. His cameras showed 2 blow-and-bolt reactions in the first 3 mornings. One mature doe came in on a trail that crossed his scent cone at about 35 yards, stopped dead, threw her head up, and left the way she came. On my side, a doe on a similar trail at a similar distance walked through without breaking stride. I won't pretend that's a controlled study. 6 sits each, 1 property, 2 guys. Could be noise in the data. But it matched what I'd been seeing on my own ground for 3 seasons. And it's consistent with what that Hunting PA forum member reported. 6 deer in 2 sites actively investigating the turpentine source instead of fleeing from it. Here's how you use it without overdoing it, because too much will work against you. The application is almost stupidly simple, and that's part of why it took me a while to trust it. Put your index finger over the bottle opening, tip it upside down once. That gives you a single dab of liquid on your fingertip, about the size of a match head. Touch that to your hat brim. Do it again, touch it to each bootlace. That's 3 dabs total. You should be able to smell it if you hold your hat up to your nose, but not from arm's length. If you can smell it at arm's length, you use too much. The compound is potent. A quarter drop disperses further than you'd expect, because alpha-pinene is extremely volatile, meaning it evaporates and spreads in air quickly, especially on a morning thermal. If you're getting value from this, subscribe. There's more of these coming. I made the mistake of soaking a cotton ball with it my first season. Thought more would be better. The scent wall hit 40 yards out and a mature doe nearly tripped over herself turning around. That was my education. Use less than you think you need, and then use half of that. The old man told me this in the parking lot, and I didn't listen. Should have. The second time I used it, with just the 3-dab method, a 4-point walked past my stand at 22 yards on a morning where the wind was marginal at best. He paused, tested the air, and kept walking. Not alarmed, not spooked, just a deer moving through what his nose told him was a normal stretch of pine timber. That single encounter told me more about how this works than any forum thread ever could. One thing that gets asked whenever I bring this up, is it safe? Pure Gum Spirits is a natural solvent. You don't drink it, you don't pour it on your skin, and you keep it away from open flame because it's flammable. But dabbed on fabric in the tiny amounts we're talking about, it's no different than handling pine sap on your hands after cutting firewood. The key word is pure. If the label doesn't say pure gum spirits of turpentine or 100% gum spirits, don't buy it. Rectified turpentine and mineral spirits are petroleum products with sulfates and chemicals that will ruin your hunt and might irritate your skin. The real product smells clean and sharp, like snapping a pine branch in half. If it smells like a gas station, you bought the wrong thing. A quick note on regulations. Gum spirits isn't a food-based attractant or a bait. It's a cover scent, so baiting laws don't apply in any state I'm aware of. That said, I'm not a lawyer and regulations change. Spend 2 minutes on your state wildlife agency's website before season if you want to be sure. It costs you nothing and keeps you legal. Now for the limitation, and this is an important one. Everything I've described works because of one assumption. There are pine or conifer species growing in or near the area you're hunting. In the pine belt of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, East Texas, the Carolinas, most of Appalachia where you've got hemlock, white pine, Virginia pine, the scent of concentrated terpenes fits the environment. It's familiar. It's what undisturbed forest smells like. A Pennsylvania forum poster noted that deer in his area rubbed heavily on hemlock saplings, suggesting an existing attraction to that terpene profile. But if you're hunting pure hardwood terrain with zero conifers, no pine, no spruce, no hemlock, no cedar, like some of the oak and hickory ridges in Tuscarawas County, Ohio, that's the rolling hill country east of New Philadelphia, where the hardwood canopy runs unbroken for miles. A strong pine scent is a foreign odor. It doesn't authenticate your location. It contradicts it. A buddy of mine tried it on an all-hardwood property in southern Ohio and told me the deer reacted to it the same way they'd react to any out-of-place scent. Cautious, heads up, circling downwind. On that kind of ground, you're better off going scent-free entirely, or using an earth-based cover scent that matches the leaf litter and soil in your area. The turpentine trick is a pine country tool. Using it in hardwood-only ground is like wearing ocean camo in the desert. It technically hides you, but it doesn't belong. For mixed terrain, which is most of the Whitetail Range east of the Mississippi, where you've got pine scattered among hardwoods, it works well. Even a few pine trees within a quarter mile of your stand are enough to make the scent profile plausible to a deer's nose. Temperature matters more than most people expect. The turpentine works best in cool weather, roughly 30 to 55 degrees, cold enough to see your breath, but not so cold that evaporation slows to a crawl. In that range, alpha-pinene volatilizes at a rate that produces a steady, realistic scent signature for 4 to 6 hours. Above 65 degrees in early season warmth, it evaporates too fast and can become concentrated enough to trigger suspicion instead of comfort. Below 20 degrees in a hard late-season snap, evaporation drops off, and the scent barely carries. For early season, cut your application in half. For late season, add a second dab at midday. The sweet spot is October and November, which lines up with when it matters most. One more thing about storage. Keep the bottle sealed tight in a Ziploc in your truck or gear bag. It's a solvent, so if it leaks on fabric, it can stain, and your wife will have questions. I speak from experience. 2 dabs on the outside of a gear tote, and the garage smelled like a Christmas tree lot for a week. My wife actually liked that part. She was less enthusiastic about the stain on the workbench. This is the part I've been saving, and it's what turned 3 dabs of turpentine into the only scent system I've used for the last 2 seasons. After you apply the gum spirits to your hat and boots, take a single cotton ball and put 1 drop on it. Not a dab, 1 drop from the bottle. Seal the cotton ball in a snack-sized Ziploc. When you get to your lone wolf stand, clip the Ziploc open with a clothespin to a branch about 4 feet off the ground, roughly chest height on a whitetail, about 15 to 20 yards downwind of your position. That's about the distance from a pitcher's mound to home plate. The cotton ball releases a slow, consistent terpene stream into the air column below your stand. What this does is create a scent buffer zone. Any human odor molecules that drift below your position get mixed with and partially overwhelmed by the terpene concentration from the cotton ball. On my Browning Strike Force cameras, the difference between sits with and without the cotton ball was noticeable. Deer approaching from downwind showed alert body language, head up and testing the air about 40% of the time without the cotton ball. With it, that dropped to somewhere around 15%, give or take. My sample size is small. Maybe 30 sits across 2 seasons, and I'd be the first to tell you that's not proof of anything. But the pattern was consistent enough that I stopped hunting without it. The old man didn't tell me the cotton ball trick. That one I figured out on my own after reading about how terpene concentrations interact with thermal currents in a forestry paper I found online. I couldn't tell you the exact citation. A biologist would probably explain it better than I can, but the basic idea is that alpha-pinene bonds temporarily with other volatile organic compounds in the air, including the ones your body produces, and the combined molecule is less recognizable to the deer's olfactory system than either compound alone. Whether that's exactly right or not, the cameras told a story I couldn't argue with. There's a reason old-growth pine forests feel different when you walk through them. The terpene concentration in the air is measurably higher. Deer that bed and feed in and around conifer stands have been breathing those compounds their entire lives. It's the background scent of safety. When your stand position emits that same signature, it doesn't register as foreign. It registers as forest. $15. One bottle that lasts 2 full seasons of hunting. 3 dabs on your person, 1 drop on a cotton ball. No spray down ritual in the parking lot. No $15 cans of aerosol. No activated carbon clothing that costs more than your bow. The whole system fits in a shirt pocket and takes about 30 seconds to apply. A guy on a Pennsylvania hunting forum summed it up in a way I can't improve on. He said he'd had 6 deer in 2 sits come in and actively investigate the turpentine scent on his hat while standing in his scent cone, proven by milkweed drifting straight to them, and none of them reacted to his human odor. Same body language he'd seen with deer investigating ever calm. His explanation was the same as mine. The deer's nose registered pine forest and filed his location as safe. The guys who use this don't bring it up at the pro shop. Not because it's a secret, because when you tell someone that turpentine is the best $15 investment you've ever made in deer hunting, they look at you like you just told them the earth is flat. Then, November comes around and you're sitting in your stand watching deer feed at 25 yards while the guy who spent $200 on scent products is wondering why he's not seeing anything.